Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our bottom left-hand corner HTW, our blue Zerg, and in the top right we have QuanticLM. I don't think he's from Team Quantic. I've never heard of anybody named LM from Quantic. I don't know. I do not know. I honestly don't know, but I do know that they're in Masters, so it's still going to be a good game, even if he's not part of Team Quantic, or he's like a new addition that I haven't heard about. I'm very much behind on who's part of the main teams and whatnot, so please don't hate me for my ignorance. Educate me for my ignorance. Yeah, that's all I ask for. We're on Cloud Kingdom, which is a fantastic map. I enjoy it a great deal. Very pretty little doodads in the center, and it's a Zerg versus Protoss, and Masters level. I mean, high Masters. HTW is like 5, and Quantic LM is like 1 or 2 seed Masters. So I mean, definitely getting ready to move up to Grandmasters. Probably would be Grandmasters if there was a little bit more room. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a great matchup. I mean, Zerg versus Protoss. Who doesn't like Zerg versus Protoss? Listen how high my voice is getting right now. It's so likable. It's so great. HTW, it's banking up a little bit of resources. Is he going to go for a 15 pool, or is it going to be a hatch first build? Only time will tell. I do know it's not going to be a 10 pool, it's not going to be a 6 pool, it's not going to be any form of shenanigans. QuanticLM not throwing down the pylon for the typical Forge Fast expand. Instead, it's going for that gateway and assimilator first, so tapping that gas, getting up a little bit tech more than anything else. So that's going to be interesting. Maybe it's going to be a robo first build. Only time will tell. Spawning pool on the way. First drone is moving out just to check the top right corner to see if there's a pylon already thrown down there for some cheese. Goes by the wayside, bumps into the probe on the way out, throws down that hatchery. Spawning pool is definitely going to be done before the hatchery, so a little bit awkward timing for the queens, but the added defense afforded by the early spawning pool is definitely something to be desired. LM sees, like what he sees that spawning pool is going down first. No heavy economy lead because the hatchery wasn't down whenever he walked past it. Knows what to expect when he bumps down there. Sees that the on his way out, sees that the assimilator is up with that cybernetics core, so you know he's going to be working on that tech. Get that first stalker out. Kind of deny scouting. Sees if this is some sort of cheese build. That first overlord arrives. Sees that there's not a nexus down. So HTW is going to have to think about getting up some added defenses early on. The first round of Zerglings are coming out on the field just right now, and then the second round is popping momentarily, and the first queen's going to be popping out relatively short order, and the extractor's also going down, so HTW is going to be working on his own tech as he starts to saturate his own natural expansion. First zealots out on the field for LM, as well as the stalker underway. No chrono boosts, no chrono boost being spent on the cybernetics core, not on the stalker. It looks like everything's being spent on the nexus, and we can see that in the 21/18 worker count. Gas income's also pretty high. I mean, he's already tapped that extractor or assimilator, and he's still going to town on that. So what's he going to be using that extra tech for? Only time will tell. I expect we're going to see a robotics facility shortly, though. I mean, one base, you've got to work on some form of higher tech. Make it so that you can afford to get that nexus. One gate into nexus is incredibly ballsy, though, and so you're going to have to see some form of unit producing structure shortly. Maybe just a forge. Okay, a forge, and kind of like a really delayed forge fast expand. This is going to be tricky, though, because if HTW scouts this, I mean, he's got an overlord in position, and is he aware? He is aware that the nexus is going down, but in all honesty, if I were to see this, I would expect there to be some other form of unit producing structures, maybe a lot more zealots on the way, something to make it so he can protect himself a little bit more. Pylon being placed in the top right corner, keep an eye out there, maybe some hidden tech later on, but that first sentry out on the field isn't going to be enough to actually defend this nexus. I think QuanticLM is going to be relying on this little push of the first zealot and the first stalker to actually buy him enough time. Pokes in there, sees that there's not a huge number of Zerglings out on the field right now. No form of all-in cheese from HTW. So the moment has passed that nexus was very much exposed, and I think that these units probably would have bought him enough time. Throw down a photon cannon, then maybe a gateway to complete that wall up. 2 forges, both done, both starting on that 1/1. We can see the upgrades are being the chrono boosts are being spent on those upgrades. So Quantic definitely playing for the late game. I mean, his unit composition right now is non-existent. He's got one of everything. Still just the single gateway warping into that warp gate, and working on the +1. On the other side of the thing, HTW is getting the Roach Warren up. He's still just on the one gas geyser, but he's probably going to need a second one in short order if he intends on transitioning into higher tech. Metabolic boost will be done very, very soon. These Zerglings are going to have a very hard time squeezing through this this open door. I think there's a gap in between the pylon and the forge. I could be mistaken, and even if there is, 2 sentries and a zealot, more than enough to protect against that. Overlord coming in at an awkward angle is not going to be scouting anything because there's nothing to see. 2 gas being tapped, pylon on the top right corner, nothing else. Poor zealot didn't make its way back. It's going to go down, but I think that's all that HTW can expect to get in here, especially with the zealot. The way is shut for them. Taking out 1 or 2 more, the Zerglings kind of evening up that resources lost tab. 325 over 225. Third hatchery being taken by HTW, and hey, there's that hidden tech I was talking about. Twilight Council, as well as a robotics facility. The suicided Overlord has made his way completely through the base, but he didn't scout the top right corner, didn't even see the pylon. Unfortunately for him, that robotics facility is definitely something that you want to see. This is going to make me paranoid, man. If I were to come in and I just see 2 gateways getting thrown down, I would more than likely suspect there to be some form of hidden tech, and these Zerglings are scattered all over the map. So I either going to see another Overlord suicided in, or more likely a bunch of Zerglings checking out the corners to see if there's some sort of hidden Stargate. Though the timing, I mean, we're almost at the 9-minute mark, and if you're going to get hit by a proxy, it would have already happened. And the roaches are already out on the field. The Roach Warren, rather. Actually, are there any roaches at all? No, there's not. Wow. Both players definitely playing this as far as macro as you can get. I mean, here goes the Zerglings checking in the top left corner, bottom right corner, looking for that hidden tech that I was talking about, but you're not going to find it. I mean, you've got the Twilight Council in the top right corner for upgrades more than anything else, but I expect we're going to see Blink or Zealot charge in relatively short order. With the robotics facility working on the Immortal, it is probably going to be Zealot charge. It's going to be that Zealot Sentry Immortal mix that is very, very potent, especially against a Zerg that's going primarily Zergling and Infestor. We have some Roaches upgrades underway. We got the Glial Reconstitution, the speed for those Roaches, and Lair Tech's already done. Maybe an Infestor Pit's going to be coming out relatively short order also. But will it be enough to deny this third from Quantic in the top left corner? I don't know. I honestly don't know. The force that Quantic is fielding right now isn't very intimidating. It's definitely not enough to protect that third if there was a major push coming in from HTW. I mean, with all those Roaches going to be popping out, 16 Roaches on the way right now with speed by the time that third gets up, I think HTW is going to be in a very good position to deny this third completely, as long as he doesn't give Quantic enough time to get up a critical number of Immortals. We can see the second Immortal's on the way, Blink also, and that first Immortal has made himself known into the main force. These sentries have been out for a very long time. Check a look at all that energy. It's a lot of force fields, and I think a prolonged engagement is really going to work in the advantage of HTW. He's going to need to poke in, draw some force fields, pull out, no problem at all. As long as he continues to do that and only lose 1 or 2 Zerglings, 1 or 2 Roaches in that engagement, a massive choke right here is present. I mean, you got the Nexus, the Pylon, and then the wall, so 1 or 2 force fields can cut HTW in half. I would want Quantic to pull back a little bit so that he can bait HTW a little bit farther in. Regardless, I mean, both players, is a very tense moment. +1's going to be finishing for the armor. +1 range is already done. It looks like +3 is on the way, so that means +2 is done for Protoss ground army. Here comes a nice split of all those Roaches. Only 3 Roaches caught by the force fields, but really good control there by LM. He's doing a good job keeping that third alive. There's still a large number of Roaches left alive with the +1/+1. 2 Immortals are now in this mix, though, and that is a lot of sentries. The force fields are representing a huge, huge possibility for damage. HEW is going to have to back out. Another force field capturing just a couple of those 3, not realizing that they can just walk away and be fine, just say no and you're okay. But unfortunately, man, the ranged attack fire, the Zealots didn't even get in on the mix at all. Now we've got 3 Immortals up. This third is not going to have any issue at all. HTW unfortunately took just a little bit too long in getting in there and actually doing the damage that he needed to do. Gave QuanticLM enough time to get up the sentries and the Immortals that he needed, and now he's bought enough time to get a Templar Archive up. So Archon's probably going to be added into the mix. I don't see how Hard Templar Storm could be too very useful, but maybe he'll get it just in case. Infestor Pit also on the way, and where is that Spire? Spire, right next to the Infestor Pit. Absolutely fantastic. So two-pronged possibility for aggression, maybe some Mutalisks to come out and do some economic damage, because this is not the most mobile force in the world. We did see Blink getting researched, so those stalkers will have that high mobility, but unfortunately that's going to isolate them from the rest of the group. There's not a lot of stalkers, actually. So it could be that we're going to see that, but look at the gas count. HTW doesn't have a huge bank of gas. It's not going to be able to get a huge swell of Zerglings. He's spending that a lot of the extra gas on upgrades with the +2 on the way, +1 with the weapons, and infestors. He's got 6 more infestors on the way. So I think that Spire is more for a greater Spire later on down the road. Get that tech started now. HTW has already shown that he's more than willing to play for the late game. He's got that 4th up. He's just tapped it for gas more than anything else, and a huge number of spines to correct it, to protect it. So I think HTW is going to be a little bit behind on the economy. He is getting his own 4th, and he's got a warp prism on the way, so some possibility for aggression. And there goes the Greater Spire. Absolutely fantastic play there. So Quantic is going to be relying on that that warp prism to get in there, start doing some damage to the economy, to the probe line, or to the worker line rather. And I think HTW is just more than content to sit back, relax, 4-base it, get up that Broodlord Infestor composition, which is, I mean, devastating to what we've got here. I mean, those Immortals, those poor Immortals, are not going to be able to do any damage at all. The High Templars are up with their Templar Storm. We haven't seen huge numbers of Zerglings. There are some Zerglings out on the field. I mean, how many? 27 Zerglings? But in all honesty, the Zealots, which have their charge already done, and more than a match for that. I would much prefer to see these made into Archons so that they can start tank some damage, to do some anti-air damage. We see 9 Corruptors coming out on the field with the Greater Spire finished. We're going to see some Broodlords also, so LM is going to be in a little bit of trouble in so far as the next combat if the anti-air doesn't get any better. He's got a lot of supply left. He's got 40-something supply left, and if he gets in some more stalkers, some more of those Archons, he could really take care of those Broodlords. However, he's continuing to add in some Zealots, and that's not really the unit composition that he needs in order to deal with the unit composition we can see coming out of HTW. 3 more hatcheries on the way. He's just taking different hatcheries in different locations. There goes the Warp Prism drop. Not down on the probe line that you really want to see. Only 2 workers killed for HTW. Unfortunately, he does cost the hatchery for HTW, but and he also exposes those Corruptors. You're going to see that those Corruptors are out. It's going to be like a Roach Broodlord, and then maybe some Infestors mixed in there too. Dark Shrine being built, is that because Quantic is behind on his gas income, probably more than anything else. Dark DTs can be made into Archons far faster and far more cost effective than High Templars, so I think that's what we're going to see that the Dark Shrine being used for. And as things are now, I mean, HTW, he doesn't really need to take this top left one. He doesn't really need to take this expansion because he's got the one in the bottom right, as well as just a hardy economy. He's very, very well done. 77 over 76. He's a little bit behind on the gas income, and by behind I mean look at how much money he's got in comparison to the gas income. He needs a gas bank because he's going to be so very gas intensive. Throwing down a lot of spines here a little belatedly. There goes a nice fungal growth down at the bottom of the ramp, catching a couple of those Zealots, but all that does is signify for the High Templar to come up for some feedbacks. Here we go, one feedback down. Oh, 2. Fantastic win there for that High Templar, getting 2 kills with just the feedback. All of a sudden, the quick blink from the Stalkers, more feedback down on all those Infestors. However, they already expunged a lot of their energy in the form of those fungal growths. Another blink from the Stalkers. They're blinking forward onto the Roaches. Those Roaches get eaten alive very, very quickly. The Broodlords throwing down their Broodlings. However, now that the Roaches have completely melted away, those Broodlords are very exposed. 70 Zerglings on the way, a lot more Roaches. I wish that those Zerglings were instead Roaches, because those Zerglings are going to get chewed alive by all the Zealots and Archons we see on the bottom of the ground. This unit composition is really working for LM. He's got pretty much the perfect mix. Made those Archons with the High Templars once the High Templars had run out of energy, and their added DPS, their added splash damage is really allowing them to do a lot of damage both to the air and also to the swarm of units on the ground. Unfortunately, 5 Broodlords are still left alive, and they're out of range from those Archons, and there's not a lot of anti-air in the form of anything, really. This sentries, maybe a couple of Archons, nothing else. And those Broodlords are eventually going to be able to clean this up, but not until QuanticLM pushes into the natural. This is really bad for him. That hatchery is definitely going to go down as soon as the Archons get done dealing with the queens and the straggle of roaches and whatnot pushing in. However, they have forced the Broodlords to abandon their upper ground and push into the common ground. So I think with some proper control, no, there's pretty much everything that could shoot up is either dead or cornered. All those broodlings are taking out quite a lot of the Archons as well as the Stalkers. Unfortunately, they are going to go down. HTW eventually stabilizes, but at what cost? He almost had 2,000 minerals saved up. Unfortunately, now, I mean, he's down to nothing. He's down to absolutely nothing. Morphing in 3 more Broodlords on the low ground. He did managed to save pretty much everything except for his natural. His third, which would have been a far more devastating economic loss, did manage to go up. It's weird to see that extractor's not mining off anything. Probably those drones got taken down. Counterattack of the roaches into the top left corner. Not really saturated here. Quite a lot of probes stacked up on the gas just to save themselves. The roaches eventually going to get hunted down by those blink stalkers. Oh, a nice control there by HTW, burrowing them underground. Keep them alive just for a couple of seconds. We do see an observer is coming out, but look at these units. 11 zealots, 22 stalkers, and that's it against 10 broodlords. Quantic is going to have to push out with those broodlords, going to have to do quite a lot of damage very shortly because he can't afford just to stabilize. Because remember, Protoss didn't take any economic damage at all. He's still on 3 bases because his natural is completely mined out. But as time goes on, HTW is going to get outpaced. We got 5 more infestors on the way. A Fleet Beacon, absolutely fantastic decision there. Maybe an Archon toilet could deal with these broodlords with little to no effort at all. And we can see he's starting to bank a lot of money. He's got a lot of minerals saved up for QuanticLM and a lot of gas too. So we're going to see a lot of DTs made into some Archons, and hopefully HTW can eventually get out that unit composition he needs. He's so starved for money right now. And why is that? I guess he lost a lot of harvesters, 71 over 56. He's still got a good amount of economy, good income of both minerals and gas, but it's really the gas that's killing him because his unit composition is so very gas intensive. Relying on that Infestor and Broodlord matchup, was that? Huh. That's an instantaneous Infestor strike. Sometimes I forget. I'm not watching Heart of the Swarm or the latest patches and whatnot of that. But a little counterattack of the Zealots down into the bottom right-hand corner. Plenty of spine crawlers there, as well as a quick reaction of the Infestors throwing up some Infested Terran. I don't think this hatchery is going to go down, and that would have been a devastating loss for HTW because, again, I mean, you can't afford to lose too many more drones. Definitely can't afford to lose any more gas income. Finally working on that bank, finally getting it up higher, back up to the count of broodlords that he needs. However, he's given QuanticLM quite a lot of time. He's got a huge number of stalkers right now and a lot of Archons to absorb that force. I think what we're going to see is next fight is going to consist of the stalkers blinking in very, very quickly to get underneath those broodlords and relying on the Archons and the AoE damage of the High Templars to chew up any and everything on the ground. Some unit firing from QuanticLM, who's already almost max 190 over 200. He's going to be in a fantastic shape to do quite a lot of damage, and poor HTW, I mean, he's at 162. He's got a very, very slow, methodical force. A lot of broodlords, a lot of infestors, a lot of damage represented here. However, both players are going to have to be very, very careful because it is very precarious right now. And I think if QuanticLM pushes down to the bottom right-hand corner, he could deal some major damage to the economy. And unfortunately for him, unfortunately for HTW, he's not going to be able to protect this expansion in time because this is a far more mobile force. The Stalker's making short work of the spines. HTW is not even attempting to reposition his force. Check out the mini-map. This entire expansion goes down, and with that, he loses probably 15 harvesters as well as a massive chunk of his mineral and gas income. And that, man, he's just desperate for money right now. 100 minerals is basically all he's got to his name. A lot of broodlords, though. Not a lot of anti-air, which is going to be interesting because now that mothership is out. And how much is he going to be relying on those infested Terran to chew up that mothership? And those they're not as powerful as they used to be. And this force is definitely going to give him quite a lot of bother, quite a lot of issues right here for Zerg. I think Zerg's not really recovered from that initial strike, and I think when this next fight, and I think this might be it, happens, it's going to be very intimidating. The Infestor's pushing way too far forward, taking 1 or 2 pot shots. Unfortunately, the Zerglings and the Broodlords managed to absorb the majority of the force from those Stalkers. A nice fungal growth there to grab those Stalkers. The High Templars straggling of the group. Protective envelope of the mothership, though, keeps them alive. Net win for HTW. He definitely needs that in order to keep buying time for him to get up that unit composition that he needs. But 150 over 170 supply, and QuanticLM has a massive bank right now. He can just continually remacro. I think we found that Protoss now is pretty much unstoppable. I think HTW needs to take out this force in a massive win, and then if he does do that, succeed in taking out 1 or 2 bases on top of that, because short of that, I do not see how HTW can stay in this game. Right now, Quantic is just buying time to get out even more Archons, to max himself, and then to do that final Doom push. Does he have max energy on the mothership? He doesn't, but he does have enough for a single Vortex, and with 4 Archons, 5, 6, 7, 8 Archons out on the field right now, the Archon toilet's going to be pretty devastating. The Corruptors suiciding in, almost dying instantly. Did they even get a single shot off on the mothership? They did not. Nice concave of all those Broodlords, but there goes the Storms down on top of them, taking some massive damage, forcing the pullback. There goes the Vortex, but it's not grabbing many of... Oh, no, that wasn't a Vortex, was it? It was just a... No, it wasn't. It was a Vortex. There goes the Vortex. Vortex right on the middle of it, grabbing probably half of the Broodlords, but look, all the Archons are still outside of the Vortex, throwing in a couple of them, 1 or 2, popping out, and here comes the expiring of the Vortex. They all pop out. All the Stalkers were trapped inside of it, though, and they are doing a massive amount of damage to all those Broodlords. Still 12 Broodlords out on the field right now. The mothership is still also alive, but 25 Stalkers, and that's where the majority of the damage is going to be dealt. QuanticLM doing some really nice micro, keeping the Stalkers alive by blinking away quickly, and it looks like every single one of those Broodlords have completely been covered up. 6 roaches are on the way, and 0 minerals is what remains for HTW. I really don't see how he can stay in this game, especially with QuanticLM having over 2,000 minerals. His mothership has remained alive, and he's got so many Stalkers left. Really, this is just this is rough. This is absolutely rough. He's going to be poking at the front door, but really, I expect HTW is going to be tapping out any moment now. Really, what this came down to was that first devastating strike of the Immortal Sentry and Zealot push. HTW had a good unit composition. He had that in-game composition, really. He had Broodlords at the moment. Not enough Infestors on the ground, I guess, and really just took too much damage from the Storm and the Archons early on, not really allowing himself to stabilize, not really allowing the damage dealers to do damage, and the end result was that QuanticLM just kind of steamrolled into his natural, took down a healthy chunk of his economy, and outpaced him from there. He just had a lead, capitalized on it, and stuck with it. And this is the end result, was that you had a massively underwhelming force from the Zerg, taking up a fully maxed out perfect composition from Protoss, and obviously Protoss won. I mean, he had those Archons, he had the very nice Vortex, had too many Stalkers in the Vortex, not enough Archons, but whatever, he still won. Doesn't matter. Poor HTW, he did a good job, and that's basically it. Yeah, thank you for posting this. I'm assuming it was QuanticLM. And thank you for watching this. If you guys have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Ibigandscary. Bye.